In 2027, China has blockaded Taiwan. American and Chinese warships are going head-to-head in the South China Sea. Oil prices jumped 300% in a single night. The New York Stock Exchange just collapsed in the biggest crash in its entire history. And in Washington, the president is standing at a crossroads: war or retreat. This is not a movie. This is the exact scenario that Pentagon war planners are simulating every single day. And every time, they start from the same place, the South China Sea. You've probably never thought about this sea, but this sea is thinking about you. Because the phone in your hand, the engine in your car, your kids' toys, all of it came through this route. And one day, maybe this route will shut down. When that day comes, the world will never be what it was. Every year, $3.4 trillion worth of goods passes through this sea. 30% of the world's total oil supply moves through this route. Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, 80% of their oil imports run through here. 60% of China's own trade flows through this route. If this sea shuts down for just 72 hours, Japan's factories will go dark. South Korea's shipping industry will freeze up. America's supply chain will fall apart. This isn't just a sea. This is the artery of the entire world, and China wants its hand on that artery. In 1947, China drew a map. On that map, they drew a line around the South China Sea, 9 dashes. The message was one thing: this entire sea is ours. But here's the problem: that line sits just a few miles off the coast of Vietnam. It cuts right into the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. It runs straight over Malaysia's oil fields. It swallows up Brunei's territorial waters. In 2016, the International Court ruled China's claim has no legal foundation whatsoever. China's response? They called that ruling a piece of paper and brushed it aside, and kept pushing their claim through military force. Between 2013 and 2016, China did something the world had never seen before. They built islands in the middle of the ocean. Satellite images made it undeniable where there was nothing but open water in 2013. By 2016, a fully operational military base was standing there. In the Spratly Islands, China built more than 3,000 acres of artificial land, 3 full-length military runway airstrips, HQ-9 missile systems capable of destroying targets 300 kilometers out, Wage-12 anti-ship missiles that put American aircraft carriers in their crosshairs, advanced radar and electronic jamming systems, deep-water submarine ports. This wasn't just building islands. This was erecting an impregnable military fortress in the middle of the ocean. And the whole thing happened right in front of international law, out in the open, without fear, because China knew nobody was coming to stop them. America doesn't accept these claims, so the U.S. Navy regularly deploys massive aircraft carriers, the US Ronald Reagan, and sails them straight into the waters China claims as its own. This is called freedom of navigation operations. The message is one thing: these are international waters. This is not your front yard. China's response? They send their own destroyers. They scramble fighter jets. They broadcast warnings over the radio. You are entering our territorial waters. Leave immediately. The Americans respond: we are operating in international waters in full accordance with international law. And keep right on going. There's another critical piece here. The Philippines is a formal U.S. military ally. Under the 1951 treaty, if the Philippines is attacked, America is bound to go to war. So what's happening to the Philippines right now? Chinese Coast Guard ships are blasting Filipino fishing boats with water cannons. They're blockading Philippine supply vessels. They're physically stopping Filipino fishermen from fishing their own waters. At 2nd Thomas Shoal, the Philippines has an old grounded ship. A small number of soldiers are stationed on it. China is trying to cut off their resupply, starve them out. This is not war, but it is the last step before war. And if one day China pushes just a little too far, then America will have to decide, do we honor the treaty or do we avoid the war? But above all else, the one issue that is most dangerous, Taiwan. China considers Taiwan its own breakaway province. It is written in their constitution Taiwan will be reclaimed, one day or another. How important is Taiwan? 90% of the world's advanced semiconductors are manufactured in Taiwan. The chip in your phone, the computer in your car, the electronics inside America's own military weapons, all of it from Taiwan. If China takes Taiwan, it gains a monopoly over the world's entire technology supply, and the South China Sea becomes the road through which the Chinese Navy seals off Taiwan. And for America to get in, it would have to pass through the missile range of China's artificial island fortresses. History tells us one thing: the biggest wars don't start by design. 1914, one gunshot. World War I. 1950, one border crossing. The Korean War. 1962, one misread signal from a ship. The world almost went nuclear. Today in the South China Sea, Chinese fighter jets are flying within just feet of American reconnaissance aircraft. Chinese warships are cutting off American destroyers. One pilot's hand shakes for just a moment. One captain brakes just a second too late. One officer gives the order just a little too fast. That's it. Two nuclear powers in direct collision. And after that, no one can stop what follows. A lot of people think China is doing this purely for resources. There's some truth to that. The South China Sea holds an estimated 125 billion barrels of oil, 500 trillion cubic feet of natural gas. But this is not just a fight over resources. This is a fight over the world order itself. After World War II, America built a set of rules-free passage in international waters for everyone. The rule of international law. The powerful cannot simply swallow the weak. China wants to break those rules. China wants to say, if we're strong enough, we make our own rules. If America loses this fight, the entire world order changes. You're probably thinking right now, this is happening thousands of miles away from me. But remember this. In 1939, Americans thought the same thing: Europe's war is not our problem. In 1941, Pearl Harbor gave them their answer. What's happening today in the South China Sea, this is not just some distant dispute. This is a question. Who controls the world for the next 100 years? America or China? And the answer to that question will be written in a sea that looks calm on the surface but is burning from within: the South China Sea.